Okay, so thank you, and thank you everyone for joining the conference today. So as Joanna had mentioned, we are going to go through and talk about some of the opportunities for the AutoDR incentives within the California market. So as Joanna had mentioned, please feel free to chime in at any time with questions via the little message box in the GoToMeeting. So first off, we wanted to give you a overview of actually what AutoDR is and what actually makes up AutoDR, some of the different incentive levels, some of the different types of equipment that qualify for the incentives, how you become eligible for those incentives, then what the actual process is, show you a few case studies, just simple, high level, and then what this actually means for your business, and then open it up to some questions and answers. So jumping in as into the actual AutoDR overview, we figured it'd probably be best to first give you a quick snapshot, just in case you're not familiar with what is actual demand response. So granted, we're going to be talking about demand response and AutoDR in general, though this particular slide we're showing you just a very simple graph as to what it means when it comes to rooftop cooling loads. So essentially the rooftop air conditioner units, when we work with customers at REGEN, is we enable the rooftop units with demand response controllers. So these units end up communicating back and forth to each other in order to reduce demand. But what actually happens during demand response is really just taking your building from one set kW level down to a lower kW level. So what that means for actual AutoDR is to do that via an automated process without any human intervention. So we can talk through different ways to actually curtail load to participate in demand response. But with that said, AutoDR, or automated demand response, is essentially a platform that provides fully automated signaling from the utility to an end customer in order to shed load for demand response events. So there's three different components to AutoDR. There's the actual function, there's the programs, which would be demand response programs that any given utility deems as AutoDR qualified, which would mean that the utility can dispatch the programs remotely via their demand response management systems. And then the third piece is the incentive, which not all utilities have these, but at least the three California utilities that we'll be covering have dollars available to pay to actually enable your locations to be able to respond to demand response events. So as we go through here, the AutoDR incentives, what can you use them for? So really I just wanted to go through and highlight some of the different opportunities there are to spend these dollars. So what's covered is any equipment, programming, or services to automate the demand response process to via the OpenADR protocol, so via the utility signaling. Those dollars can be used to pay for energy management systems, either new ones or maybe bringing an outdated energy management system up to par for different types of thermostats, for HVAC cycling controls, automated lighting controls, remote controls for switches and pumps, maybe via a SCADA system for a water district, building automation systems, curtailment schedule programming into existing systems, and the enablement, installation, and measurement verification services to prove out all of these technologies. So just to give you a simple view of how the open ADR communication works, which is the backbone of the AutoDR programs and incentives, is just this simple graph here. So you see that we are using Southern California Edison as an example. Southern California Edison has their own demand response automation server, or DRAST server. So the way that that would work is this server reaches out to end-use customers. So this could be your retail office, your retail showroom. This could be commercial office space. This could be a mall. This could be a school district. So what happens is, to enable the AutoDR system, is you need to have a device or a system that communicates back with this DRAST server, this demand response automation server. So that is something that we do at REGEN, and then there's other technologies out there that do it as well. So this, and just to kind of set the expectation here, is that we're talking to you about the programs and incentives available, not so much about the REGEN product. So in this case, you see that the demand response automation server reaches out to the REGEN server, which then touches the end-use customer loads, and that is what automatically lets the utility put a site, put a location into the demand response schedule to initiate load curtailment. Once again, when this is set up, this is all done remotely so that there is no need for human intervention. So SCE sends out the AutoDR signal. The schedule populates within in this case, the REGEN system. And then in this case also, there is a web portal so that customers are able to view exactly how they're doing during a demand response event. Which is extremely important, because you never want to go into demand response and find out after the fact, after the event, the next day, the next week, that you didn't perform where you expected. Because obviously that can impact the revenues that you receive from those demand response programs, and potentially impact the incentives that you may have already received. So going to the next step is what dollars are out there. So PG&E, SCE, and SDG&E all have dollars available. The bad news is that there are not nearly as many dollars available as there were 6 months ago. There was a total pool of just over $50 million that has now dwindled down to 16 and possibly less. So the way that this works is every kilowatt enrolled into a demand response program in PG&E qualifies for anywhere from $250 to $350 per kilowatt enrolled. So that would mean that, as the example here, in Edison, $300 per kilowatt. If you have 300 kilowatts enrolled, that would qualify for you to $90,000 in incentives. Those incentives can cover up to 100% of project cost. So if you have a $90,000 project, then congratulations, you've been able to fully cover that project. But even if you have a $200,000 project, well, here's $90,000 to release some of that cost. The dollars that are remaining are first come, first served. So the way that that works is applications are time-stamped by the utilities. Even now, there's a backlog of applications that all the utilities are working on, which will continue to dwindle away these $6 million, $2 million, and $8 million buckets. So time is absolutely of the essence. So the way that the AutoDR funds are dispersed is what's called a 60-40 payout schedule. So what that means is that upon installation of your AutoDR system, whether that be a REGEN system for your HVAC units, whether that be a SCADA system for a water district, or a lighting control system to shed warehouse lighting, 60% of that project is paid upon installation and then proving the AutoDR capability, meaning that you've been able to receive the signal from the utility and execute the demand response measures. And then the other 40% of that comes after 12 months of demand response participation. So what that means is if you're in a demand response program that's called a dozen times a year, then your participation is going to be, the other 40% of your incentive is going to be based on your participation during those 12 events. So the remaining 40% of those are paid on a prorated scale. So what that would mean is if you participated at 80% of the demand response participation for the next year, then you would be receiving 80% of that final 40% payment. So how do you qualify for these dollars is pretty simple. Essentially, all that you need to do is enroll in a AutoDR qualified program. So in PG&E, all customers, industrial, commercial, agricultural, qualify. The load requirement is that you have a minimum of 200 kW demand or 30 kW of demand response curtailment. The hardware requirements are simply that you have an interval data meter or a smart meter. The programs that are eligible as AutoDR programs are the aggregator programs, capacity bidding programs, peak day pricing, peak choice, and the demand bidding program. In SCE, it's a little more restrictive. So SCE has exhausted their general AutoDR fund, but they still have the AutoDR Express, which at this point, like I said, there's $2 million available to retailers, food stores, and office buildings with demands of 100 to 400 kW. Once again, the hardware requirement is an interval data meter or a smart meter, and the available programs are any of the aggregator programs, demand bidding, capacity bidding, or critical peak pricing. And then in SDG&E, similar back to PG&E, all commercial and industrial customers with a peak demand of 100 kW or more with interval data meters or smart meters, and down there the programs can be the capacity bidding program or, once again, critical peak pricing. There's also several dual participation options here so that you can actually participate in more than one program. So maybe it would be an aggregator program and critical peak pricing, or an aggregator program and demand bidding. So there's a few different options there that we can definitely walk you through and give you the guidance as to what would be the best fit for your business. How do you participate? So the process for AutoDR enrollment is this. It's essentially having a site survey to where you would have REGEN or your SCADA contractor or others come out to actually determine what equipment would be needed to make your site, your load, open ADR compliant for AutoDR. It would be a technical review to determine exactly how much load could be shed. It would be enrollment in an AutoDR program, and then apply to reserve the funds, purchase and install the eligible equipment, submit the AutoDR funds request, measurement verification through the M&V engineers that each utility has assigned, and then ultimately receiving the AutoDR funds. This is not a short process. This is not a simple process. For each one of these boxes, there's 2 to 3 forms, and those forms consist of multiple pages. So whether it would be REGEN you're working with, or a load aggregator, or another type of controls company that would be best fit for your business, you want someone who's going to manage this process for you. For example, at REGEN we have a team of really 6-7 people that are involved with this process daily. So there's huge value in using a company that already has that experience and can navigate that process for you. Simplifying a complex process, essentially customer control. You pick what hardware makes sense for your business. Once again, whether it's HVAC controls, lighting controls, a SCADA system, what have you, you pick what you want. REGEN can walk you through the steps and assist in all aspects of the administration, implementation, approval, enrollment. We do the technical coordination, the engineering, project management. So specifically for REGEN equipment, but we can also provide the same assistance as far as guiding you into other programs, other technologies that would be the best fit for you. But we can take you all the way through to the demand response piece, enrollment options. As we said, with aggregators alone, you've got 5 different aggregators in Southern California, Edison. Each one operates a little differently. You can dual participate in multiple programs. So really, we just kind of open that up for you to show you what's available and what's possible. Nomination strategies as far as figuring out, hey, I don't know how much load I can actually reduce for a demand response event. I think I can reduce my HVAC set points to to 75 degrees, 76 degrees, but that's all I can do. We can help you to determine what that actually means on a KW level to help you nominate into those programs. So just to give you some scenarios, we've pulled up just a few simple case studies. So this specific one is for a chain of 6 movie theaters in California. Their AutoDR incentive for 900 kW, so 150 kW per site and load shed, qualified them for $270,000 in incentives. The automation, equipment, and installation costs were $302,000. Programming costs at $15,000. So total out of pocket for a total energy management system for 6 locations is $47,000. Which had an ROI on that of under a year. This is for a national retailer with 50 locations across California, each dropping 50 kW. So 2.5 megawatts spread across at $300 per kW. Brought $750,000 in incentives to pay towards this close to $1 million project. Which the math is wrong there, so $228,000 out of pocket. We have a supermarket with 48 locations, dropping 50 kW each site, $720,000 in total available funds against a project that's actually still being determined, but the funds are already reserved, of $779,000. This was a case to where not only was the AutoDR incentive tapped, but a energy efficiency incentive by actually using the REGEN system as the way that we put this one together, but by having the ability to schedule rooftop units for when they run and when they don't run, eliminating those off-hour run times of really phantom loads that should have been running in the first place. Capturing another $59,000 in reserved incentives for a total of $779,000. This is a water district in Southern California that was reducing 1,200 kW. This is across 400 or 500 horsepower pumps. Drop, and once again at 300 kW, $300 per kW. The reservation was $360,000. The automation equipment and installation was $292,000. The SCADA programming was $19,000. Left them with dollars left over of $49,000 to use on additional projects that would also tie back to the demand response efforts. So just wanted to give you a range there that sometimes these projects can make it zero out of pocket. Sometimes they can have money left over. Sometimes it can just help take a big chunk out of what could be or would be a more costly project had you not had those incentives. So once again, we wanted to keep this at a pretty high level. So we've got agriculture, a farm in Central California. They are at the low end of the AutoDR incentives at 200 in PG&E. Once again, remaining incentives left over after their project of $45,000. At the end of the day, any of these dollars that are available to you, you're already paying into these public purpose programs. You're paying into these buckets of dollars every time you pay your bill. So this is not free money by any means. It's money that's out there, carved out into programs that make sense for a lot of commercial, industrial, and ag customers. How does it help your business? Site surveys to evaluate high-level energy audits. Just having any energy audit done at any time, even having someone come out and take a look at how you're running your operation as far as your energy spend, even one tidbit of information to help you maybe save a single kW in demand charges, or to help you reduce a few kilowatt hours because of a rogue HVAC unit that's running every Sunday night when it doesn't need to be. Anytime you can get a site survey done that helps identify any of those things is absolutely of value. The AutoDR funding dramatically eases or eliminates the cost of participation for demand response. These programs are put in place to enable customers to participate in demand response that typically otherwise would not be able to. It's good for the customer, you, because you're able to grab dollars to enable DR load without having to manually chase thermostats or run around chasing pumps or run around turning off light switches. It helps the utility because now those loads are more reliable since they are automated. The opportunity to automate many aspects of your energy control system for cost savings. There's very rarely do any of these systems get put in place that only help you with demand response. There are always some type of energy efficiency or demand management benefit. The ability to reduce unnecessary and costly peak demand charges. That's specifically back to REGEN does, what REGEN does. As we showed you in that first graph, so yes, we are a AutoDR system, but the other two legs of this is we're a scheduling system for your HVAC. We are also a demand management system to where we're actually able to produce the same amount of cooling with a lower peak demand charged to your facility every month. So just total added benefits for a AutoDR funded project. The infrastructure improvements to create a platform for ongoing detailed analysis. So, you don't getting your utility bill every month, you get to look in the rearview mirror and see what happened. With systems like REGEN and others out there, you are able to get more of a windshield view, see what you're using now in a real-time scenario, so that you can make decisions as you're using that energy, not after you've already used it. Use the AutoDR funds to pay for projects that you already have on the radar, but maybe you don't have enough dollars in the budget to cover it. Or maybe you do, but you could really use some of those dollars elsewhere. And then reduce environmental impact. For every kilowatt hour you save, for every peak demand charge, for every peak kW that you reduce, you are directly contributing to not having to build another power plant. You're directly contributing to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions for every kilowatt hour you save. So there's just huge additional benefits for your business outside of even just giving an automated way to participate in demand response. So I wanted to keep it at that 30 minutes. I wanted to keep it short and sweet. I think we've done that, and we've got about a minute or so for questions. So Joe, I will turn it back over to you.
I don't see any questions at this time, James.
Okay, then at that we will, in summary, just let you know that we will put a recording of this presentation up. We will have PDF download available for you as well. So for everyone that participated, we absolutely thank you for your time. And Joanna will be following up with emails with the content. And should you have any questions specific to your business, please let us know, whether that's REGEN, HVAC related, or just program questions in general. And we will be continuing these webinars, so we'll continue to invite you to share other energy efficiency rebate programs available and to keep you updated on the latest trends. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Or do.